Hello everyone, how are you? First of all the best. You all have must uploaded your admit card and ready for your NET JRF. Wish you very all the best, and I also pray that the one who have already done well and not able to crack this time, you will definitely going to make it. And who are also appearing for the first time, don't get nervous, just believe yourself in your preparation. Whatever you have done, you will definitely make it, or you will have the experience, and that will be the better for you. Okay, so in both way, just whatever you are doing, just take it everything in a positive manner. That's what makes you apart from the different from the rest. So today we are going to practice more than 100 questions. I have not labeled 1, 2, 3, but there are so many questions from all the 10 units that we have done already. Two mock tests we have done. So here, the easier question you will don't need to have any explanation, but one wherever I find, wherever I thought that you will need, I will definitely try to explain you. Okay. So let's start the class. Do subscribe the channel and share. And all the best. Let's start the class, everybody. See the first question on your screen. So here is the question. So first question, you have to match them, the poetic line and in the work that these lines have appeared. Okay. So sweet themes run softly till I end my song. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? Beauty is truth, truth is beauty. Ganga was sunken and the limp leaves waited for rain. The wasteland, Proclamian, ode to the west wind and ode on a Grecian urn. Sorry for this question. I have not added the options. You won't find, but quickly you can comment the answer if you have studied the poetry line. Be quick because we have to solve many questions today. Chronology matching, minor, lesser known writers, everything. Criticism, literary theories. Okay, so which is the correct answer? Obviously. Sweet Thames Run. Here is the key line you can Thames, the river which is in England, London. Okay, so Sweet Thames, it is mentioned in the Proclamian by Edmund Spenser, 1596. Okay. If winter comes, can't spring be far behind. This is the very, very important and most repeated frequent line appears in the exam. This is from the Ode to the West Wind by P.V. Shelley, 1819. Okay. Beauty is truth. We all know truth is beauty. That is taken from the Ode on a Grecian Urn by John Keats, 1817. Okay. 1817 to 16. Then we have Ganga was sunken and the limp leaves waited for rain. This has been taken from the Wasteland 1922 by T.S. Eliot. Okay. By T.S. Eliot. So these are the lines. You can get the keyword and match the correct answer. Now let's see the next question, everyone. Next question we have, which critic referred to Edmund Spenser's The Fairy Queen as a tediousness of continued allegory? Charles Lamb, David Hume, Samuel Johnson and Matthew Arnold. Edmund Spenser's The Fairy Queen, 1595, very important work. You have to find out that which of these critics have referred it as tediousness of continued allegory. Correct answer of this question is option D, but there is also confusion between Samuel Johnson, everyone. So please, once you find out if you are a surety, get me the notify me. David Hume mentioned this in his work, The History of England. Remember the history of England. It is mentioned, and there was two options I found in 1759. Okay, so tediousness of continued allegory, The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser, 1595. This thing has mentioned by him. Next question we have. According to Wordsworth's preface to lyrical ballad, what is the correct sequence of the four stages of the poetic process? According to Wordsworth, preface to lyrical ballad, how many stages he has mentioned, and if he has mentioned four stages, what are the correct sequence that he has given us? So it is observation, contemplation, recollection and composition. Observation, recollection, contemplation, composition, recollection, observation, contemplation, composition, contemplation, observation, recollection and composition. Correct answer? Correct answer, it's option B. First he observes, then second he recollects, then he contemplates, that is filter. Okay, and then he compose. So thing is this is mentioned in preface to lyrical ballad by William Wordsworth. Okay, remember the four stages he has been talking about. Four stages in preface to lyrical ballad, and the four stages of poetry. He has mentioned that poet first observe, then he recollects, then he filters the emotion and compose the work. Next question we have, identify the concept defined by John Keats as when man is capable of being in uncertainties, mysteries, doubts without any irritable reaching after fact and reason. Egotistical, sublime, negative capability, objective, correlative, and primary imagination. Correct answer, everyone. So when man is capable of being in uncertainties, mysteries, and doubts, it is option negative capability about the specific person. So it is coined in 1870, and majorly it is a letter that he has written to his both brothers, George and Thomas Keats. Okay, George and Thomas Keats by John Keats. This line has been taken. Next question we have, in defense of poetry by P.B. Shelley. Poetry. P.B. Shelley famously compares a poet to which of the following? In a defense of poetry, it is a very popular work by P.B. Shelley, famously compares a poet to which of the following: a priest-like task of pure ablution, a nightingale who sits in darkness, a chameleon that has no self, a fountain of immoral drink. In a defense of poetry. So it is option B, a nightingale who sits in darkness. Okay, we have to finish many questions. Next question we have, you have seen the answer, sorry. You have to match T.S. Eliot's famous essays with the concept they introduced. He introduced tradition and the individual talent, Hamlet and his problems, and the metaphysical poets. Objective correlative, dissociation of sensibility, impersonality theory. Correct answer, everyone. T.S. Eliot's famous essays, tradition and the individual talent. Tradition and the individual talent. It is, we can find in option 3, impersonality, impersonal theory, which is, you can find in 1919, Hamlet and his problems, objective correlative, the work 1990, and the metaphysical poets, dissociation of sensibility 1921. Remember what he has discussed. Next question we have, match the poet with their specific technical contribution or designation. Here is the poet and the term: Geoffrey Chaucer, J.M. Hopkins, William Wordsworth, John Keats. Sprung rhythm, egotistical, sublime, negative capability, and the father of English poetry. Poet with their specific technical contribution or designation. Poet and the term. Geoffrey Chaucer, we can match. Father of the English poetry, J.M. Hopkins. Sprung rhythm, William Wordsworth. Egotistical, sublime, John Keats. Negative capability. Okay. Next question. Here was the options. Sorry, I could not show you the options. Let's see the next question, everyone. Arrange the following poetic works in correct chronological order of the publication: The Wasteland, Lyrical Ballad, Paradise Lost, and The Fairy Queen. Quickly comment your answer. If one or two question is like here and there, please forgive. Apologies for that. You have to arrange all these: The Wasteland, Lyrical Ballad, Paradise Lost, The Fairy Queen. Just try to find out that from which ages these works have been written. Then you can quickly arrange them. Wasteland, it is from the modern age. Lyrical Ballad, romantic age. Paradise Lost, Puritan. And The Fairy Queen, Elizabethan, the Renaissance age. 1922, Lyrical Ballad 1798, Paradise Lost 1667 to 74, The Fairy Queen 1595. Now, according to this year, you can put them in correct chronology. The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot, Lyrical Ballad by William Wordsworth, Paradise Lost, John Milton, and The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser. Okay. So as per this, the first one will appear 1595, the Fairy Queen. D will be the first. So first and the third option. Then second, we have to put 1667, the Paradise Lost. So C, option 1 will be the correct answer. Okay. Be quick with the answer. Next question we have, arrange these poets chronologically based on their birth years. And I'll have to do this. Poet we have T.S. Eliot, John Dryden. No, you have read the question, right? Birth years, as per their birth year, you have to arrange them. Na? So T.S. Eliot, John Dryden, William Langland, and Alexander Pope. Now again, try to find out from ages they belong to, and then as per, you can quickly get them in the correct year. This is actually a trick. T.S. Eliot, John Dryden, William Langland, Alexander Pope. So the ages in the chronology is very important to recall. T.S. Eliot, modern age. Okay. So 1900 you can put them. John Dryden from Restoration, 1700. William Langland, 13 to 1400 from the age of Geoffrey Chaucer. Alexander Pope from the neoclassical age. Okay. So 1600. So this is how T.S. Eliot, you can 1888, the birth rate, it's important, and I have already asked you many times. John Dryden, you can have 1631. William Langland 1332, and Alexander Pope we can have a 1688. So as per this birth year, the first one will be William Langland. So option C here, first and second. Remember, in the world literature part 1, I have taught you how you can remember the chronology. I have memorized you. So William Langland C will be the first, and then we have a 1631. Second, John Dryden B. So option B will be the option A will be the correct answer. Option first, okay. Then this will be the second, a third, and the last T.S. Eliot 1888. Let's see the next question, everyone. Identify the literary device defined as a combination of dissimilar images yoked by violence together by Samuel Johnson. Hyperbole, metaphysical conceit, synagogue, oxymoron. Correct answer, everybody. Identify the literary device defined as a combination of dissimilar things. It is option B, metaphysical conceit. Okay. So it is by Samuel Johnson, metaphysical conceit. Remember, this thing you will find in the John Donne's work, The Forbidden of Morning. And this is one of the most repeated PYQs for the exam. Let's see the next question. Okay. Next question we have, arrange the publication of these Indian English works in sequence. The Golden Threshold by Sarojini Naidu, Savitri by Sri Aurobindo, Time to Change, Nizam Ezekiel and Banaras, and the other poems by K.K. and Daruwala. Lesser known writers' work are like, specifically when you are going to find the year, it's difficult. You have to arrange the Golden Threshold by Sarojini Naidu, Savitri, Sri Aurobindo, Time to Changes. Do watch the chronology, Indian chronology series, the video, where you will find all the minor and major writers' work in chronology. Many of the students have taken the PDF also. The Golden Threshold by Sarojini Naidu, 1905, Sri Aurobindo, 1950, Nizam Ezekiel, 1952, and K.K. N. Daruwala, 1974. So as per this year, you can remember you can put them in chronology, okay, as per the publication. Let's see the next question, everyone. Now you have to match the poet with their poetry collection. I'm trying to finish because we have to solve so many questions. Stay tuned for the last moment revision. Toru Dutt, Kamala Das, Nizam Ezekiel, Arun Kulatkar. Here you have Night of the Scorpion or Sezuriana Tree, Jejuri, and an introduction. One or two is very frequent for the exam. There are no options, no? Still you can match. I know all you are very much prepared and good. Toru Dutt or Sezuriana Tree, Kamala Das, and introduction, Nizam Ezekiel, Night of the Scorpion, Arun Kulatkar, Jejuri. These are the correct matching of the poet with their poetry collection. Let's see the next question. Now here you have to match the poet with their central theme that they have explored in the work actually they belong to. A.K. Ramanujan, Jayant Mahapatra, Sarojini Naidu and Toru Dutt. Confessional poetry and female identity. Hindu heritage and cultural memory. Indian landscape, that is Odisha and solitude. Nationalist fervor and lyrical romanticism. Shall we match? A.K. Ramanujan, very such type of questions related to A.K. Ramanujan appear in the exam. So A.K. Ramanujan belong to Hindu heritage, the central theme, and cultural memory. Jayant Mahapatra, you can here get the point. Odisha, it is mentioned here. Na? So, Puri is the important work by him, and also Hunger. So, Jayant Mahapatra, we can take option 3, Indian landscape and solitude. Toru Dutt, nationalist fervor and lyrical romanticism, it is mentioned here. And Sarojini Naidu, confessional poetry and female identity. So, this is the correct matching. Okay, let's see the next question, everyone. The golden threshold we have matched 1905 for the revision. A time to change by Nizim Ezekiel. A time to change, which was 1952. Savitri, 1950 was a relationship by Jayant Mahapatra, 1980. So we have done, there is only one work is different. So we can skip. Next, which Indian poet founded the Writers' Workshop in 1958 to provide a platform for Indian creative writing in English? Correct answer, everybody. 1958 Writers' Workshop. So it is option A, P. Lal. It is Purushottam. Purushottam Lal, who founded the Writers' Workshop in 1958 to provide a platform for Indian creative writing in English. Option A is the correct answer. Next, who called Chaucer a perpetual fountain of good sense? George Saintsbury, Dryden, Arnold, or Coleridge? A perpetual fountain of good sense. The correct answer is option B. John Dryden is the correct answer. This celebrated appraisal appears in the preface to his 1700 work, Fables, Ancient and Modern. Okay, so here Dryden, obviously you know that the father of English poetry and father of English literature is also addressed by John Dryden to Geoffrey Chaucer because of his significant contribution to the English literature and by establishing rhyming couplets and heroic. Okay, so he's also quoted few of the important about Geoffrey Chaucer. So here is a God's plenty. It is also mentioned in the same preface. Okay, so here is the God plenty. It is also the fountain metaphor is also called by him to Geoffrey Chaucer. Chaucer is the father of English of poetry. It is also addressed. So remember the line. The fountain. Here is the God's plenty. Father of English poetry and English literature. These are the important phrasal quotations addressed to Geoffrey Chaucer by John Dryden. Next question we have, who described Wordsworth's preface to lyrical ballad 1800 as a puerile piece of cant? Coleridge, Francis Jeffrey, Lord Byron, and Hazlitt. Who described Wordsworth's preface to lyrical ballad 1800 as a puerile piece of cant? Remember the line that is mentioned. Puerile piece of cant. Coleridge. It is option B, Francis Jeffrey. Okay. Francis Jeffrey, chief critic of Edinburgh Review. Remember, attacked early Romanticism, infamously dismissed Wordsworth's preface to lyrical ballad 1800 as a puerile piece of a cant. Remember who? It's Jaffrey, Francis Jaffrey from the critic from the Edinburgh Review. And for which specific work it is prefaced to lyrical ballad 1800. He argued that it claims about simple language and humble subjects would degrade the poetry. So as per Francis Jaffrey, the Romantic Age writers were majorly exploring the common language, the ordinary language, the individual theme. So he has mentioned this that this would degrade the poetry level of the poetry. So this is what he mentioned. Who is often called the father of modern English poetry due to his modernist shift in the 1950s? Who is often called the father of modern Indian English poetry? Stay tuned, everyone. Do not miss any single question. Nobody knows which of the concept clarity and PYQs. I hope you have practiced well. The questions are there. You can go and explore the playlist. And please, it's a request, don't go to any new topic. That will be too confusing for you because for the last moment, you know what happened? You must have the same feeling. So it is option B, Nizim Ezekiel. Okay. Nizim Ezekiel is the one who has been addressed as the father of modern English poetry. Next question. The Lotus is a famous sonnet by which 19th century pioneer poet? Sarojini Naidu, Toru Dutt, Michael Madhusudan Dutt, and Henry Derozil. The Lotus, famous sonnet by which 19th century pioneer poet? We can option B, Toru Dutt is the correct answer. This even we can skip. Next, again, remember the poetry line quotations. So it's Poetry is the breadth and finer spirit of all knowledge. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Poets are the unacknowledged legislator of the world. Genuine poetry can communicate before it is understood. John Keats, P.B. Shelley, William Wordsworth, and T.S. Eliot. Poetry is the breadth and finer spirit of all knowledge. Correct answer, everyone. So we can match again, and there are no options, I guess. Yeah. So poetry is the breadth and finer spirit of all knowledge. This is very frequent and repeated. So this line is quoted by William Wordsworth. So A with third. Okay. Then we have heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. It is by John Keats. So B with first. Then poets are unacknowledged legislators. It is by P.B. Shelley. So C with the second. And genuine poetry, D with the fourth. So this is the correct matching. Remember the line and the writers who has given. Okay. Let's see the next question. Next question we have, who called Milton's Lycidas 1637 easy, vulgar, and therefore disgusting? Johnson, Wharton, Dryden, Coleridge. Lycidas 1637, it is a pastoral elegy on which John Milton has lamented for his friend, Cambridge friend. Okay, remember, easy, vulgar, and therefore disgusting. Who it called? This is the third time I'm recording. Somebody is getting on my knob, disturbing throughout. 1 hour is already wasted. Who addressed everyone? Quickly comment your answer. It's option A, Dr. Samuel Johnson. Okay, Dr. Samuel Johnson quoted this in Lives of the Poets. Remember, this is a very popular work by Dr. Samuel Johnson, 1779. Samuel Johnson criticized Lycidas as calling the pastoral elegy artificial and inappropriate for true grief. So that is why he labeled it as easy, vulgar, and disgusting. Okay, let's see the next question. Who called Shelley a beautiful and ineffectual angel beating in the void, his luminous wings in vain? A beautiful and ineffectual angel. So it is by option E, Matthew Arnold. Remember Matthew Arnold in essay in criticism. This statement he has given us. Okay, 1865. Ineffectual. That means he lacked engagement with real political life. This is what it means. Next question we have. Now you have to arrange the following plays in chronological order of first performance. These are the plays, and you have to find out that which of these have performed first. Dr. Faustus by Marlowe, Duchess of Malfi by Webster, Midsummer's Night Dream by Shakespeare, and The Way of the World by William Congreve. As for their first performance, you have to find out the first performance. Their composition year is different, their publication year is different, their performance year is different. Like how many years we'll have to learn. Correct answer, Dr. Faustus by Marlowe. It was in 1592. Duchess of Malfi, 1614. Midsummer Night's Dream, it was 1595. And The Way of the World, 1700. So these are the first. So first one will be 1592, Dr. Faustus, option A. Option 2 will be the correct answer. Okay. Let's see the next question, everyone. Remember, which statement about Jacobean drama are correct? Revenge tragedy flourished. Webster wrote that White Devil masks became dominant. Here are the options you can see. Statement about Jacobean drama. The John Webster, the White Devil, and the play just the Duchess of Malfi, which is very important. Remember the characters, and Bosola, the villain, is very important. Duchess of Malfi. The Duchess, the one who has been hired by her brothers. So Jacobean drama, revenge tragedy flourished. Okay, it is correct. And Webster wrote the White Devil. It is also mask became dominant. This statement is wrong. So first and second option four will be the correct answer. Next, who said a poem should not mean but be? Pound, Macleish, Eliot, or Auden. A poem should not mean but be. Share. Sharing is caring. Everybody, please share to all the students who are also watching, who are also preparing, and also appearing for the exam. And subscribe who are new to the channel. And the one who are also appearing for the June, targeting the June 2026, you can subscribe and join the channel for the notes and videos and the classes too. Who said a poem should not mean but be? So it is by option B. Archibald Shell, Macleish. This line comes from the Macleish poem Ars Poetica. Remember, don't get confused. Ars Poetica 1926, a moderate manifesto rejecting moral or didactic poetry. So remember the writer here, Archibald Macleish. A poem should not mean but be. Next, who described the novel as a prose epic of bourgeois society? Bourgeois and proletariat. And this is a very important concept. Word, keyword from the Marxism by Karl Marx. Lucas, Bakhtin, Sartre, and Foucault. A prose epic of bourgeois society. Prose. Who said this? Like, who described the novel as? So it is option A, George Lucas. Okay. So in the work, The Theory of the Novel by George Lucas, Marxist critic writer Lucas called the modern novel the epic of a world abandoned by God. Remember this line also? Epic of a world abandoned by God, and later described it as the prose epic of bourgeois society in his Marxist writing. So it is George Lucas 1920 and The Theory of the Novel. Okay. Let's see the next question. Who introduced blank verse tragedy? Shakespeare, Marlowe, Kate, or Johnson? Hmm. I have not mentioned the question number, so I don't know how many questions we have done and how many we do. But more than 100 questions here in the PDF. I know more than the one that we have done in the mock test 1 and mock test 2. Do not forget for the last moment preparations. Blank verse tragedy. Blank verse tragedy, the master. Option B. Option 2, Christopher Marlowe. The Tamburlaine, Dr. Faustus are the important work. Remember the Jew of Malta. And he is actually known as the father of drama. He paved the way for the Shakespeare later. Shakespeare took reference from all the previous writers. So it is important to know who argued that the unconscious is structured like a language. Now you read the options, everybody, please, because I have to read so many questions. You need practice reading the questions. Who argued that unconscious is structured like a language? And also, please, specifically, it's a message for all the English literature students. Do try to understand all the questions in English itself. If you are aiming to become an assistant professor for the English subject, this will be good for you, for your own self, and for your student, and for your future too. Because eventually, you are going to teach them in English. So, I should suggest you, please don't mind, okay? Who argued this? The unconscious is structured like a language. So it's option B, Jacques Lacan. Okay, Jacques Lacan in 1950s seminars, Lacan linked Freudian. Here he linked Freudian psychoanalysis with Caesarean linguistic, where he asserts that unconscious is structured like a language. And remember, 1950s. Who? Jacques Lacan. Next question we have: arrange the romantic poems chronologically as per the publication. Let me mention here. Lyrical ballad, the prelude, ode to Nightingale, and more. Romantic poems. Lyrical ballad, the prelude, ode to Nightingale. Correct answer, everyone. Lyrical ballad, it was 1798. The Prelude, 1850. 1850, sorry. Lyrical Ballad, 1798. The Prelude, 1850. Posthumously, this work was published, okay, which is an autobiography of William Wordsworth. Ode to Nightingale. Ode to Nightingale, it is by John Keats, so 1820. And Mont Blanc, you must remember this, 1817. Okay, so these are the correct chronology. 1719 will be the first, A will be the first, so first and second. Then 1817, Mont Blanc, and option D. So option 1 will be the correct answer, okay. 1798, William Wordsworth. 1850, it is also by William Wordsworth. 1820, Ode to Nightingale by John Keats. And 1870, Mont Blanc, it is by P.B. Shelley. Okay, remember. These are the works from the Romantic Age. Next question. Let me give you a highlight of these works. Lyrical Ballad by William Wordsworth. We all know these were the poem that were there were total 23 poetry they were published. Now the first one was from S.T. Coleridge, The Time of the Ancient Mariner, remember, and the last one was Clinton Abbey by William Wordsworth. The four were poetry from the S.T. College and the 19 from the Wordsworth. So, Lyrical Ballad 1798, and it is the Romantic Age Declaration. This work is actually meant to be Mont Blanc by P.B. Shelley, written in 1816, and it was published in the collection History of 6 Weeks Tour in 1817. The Prelude, which is an autobiography written between 1790 to 1805, and 1815 it was published posthumously. Okay, Growth of Poet's Mind, this was the earlier title of Growth of the Poet's Mind. And Ode to Nightingale, 1820 collection poems, this work was published and written in 1819. Now let's see the next question. You have to match the poets with the moments. Here is the poet and moments: John Donne, Alexander Pope. Please read the options, everyone. Thank you. So we can match John Donne, metaphysical; Alexander Pope, neoclassical; Sylvia Plath, modernist. Sorry, no, not modernist, but confessional. Sorry. T.S. Eliot, modernist; John Donne, metaphysical; and Alexander Pope, neoclassical age. So A with second. Here you can find in the options A. This is the correct answer. Okay. B with third. So John Donne belonged to the metaphysical. He's the founder of metaphysical poetry. Remember, and the most of his poetry published posthumously in 1633 collection. Okay, The Flea, remember, it is a witty seduction poem. A valediction forbidding mourning, metaphysical consist. This thing you will find in this work, and this is one of the most repeated questions for the exam. Let me tell you. A valediction forbidding mourning, the compass metaphysical consist is mentioned in this work. A Holy Sonnet, 1633 here. It is a 19 religious poems exploring faith, sin, and death. Okay. Then Devotions upon Emergent Occasions, 1624. This work was actually, and Alexander Pope belonged to the neoclassical age, neoclassical poet. He and the very important writer. Remember the work, The Rape of the Lock, an essay on criticism. An essay on criticism, 1711. It is a verse essay defining good taste and classical literary theory. It gave us the three bases: to earn is human, to forgive, and to divine. The Rape of the Lock, 1712. Remember the protagonist Belinda and the antagonist, the villain. Expanded, 1714, a mock epic heroic poem. This work satirizes a high society dispute over a stolen lock of hair which belongs to Belinda. Treating the tribal event with the epic grandeur, Belinda is the real incident the character actually taken from. The Dunkirk, 1728, it is a massive satire pillorying Dunce's literary hacks and rivals to highlight the decline of culture in the sense the poem were writing anything by mentioning anything in the work. So everything here, Alexander Pope mentioned that the poet should not forget what actually the right thing to and good for the society. An essay on man, 1733 to 34, it is a philosophical poem attempting to vindicate the ways of God to man through the rational ethics. Okay. Sylvia Plath, one of the very important confessional poets of American literature. Okay, American literature, and many of the suicide systems she finally found dead. The Colossus and other poems, 1960, her only collection published in during her lifetime, noted for specialized craft and brooding atmosphere. The Bell Jar, 1963, it is a semi-autobiographical novel detailing a young woman's descent into depression. Majorly, she explored the theme of isolation, death, Okay, loneliness. Okay, so remember, Young Man, Ariel is the work published in 1965, posthumously contains her most famous confessional poems like Daddy, which is a very, very important, and Lady Lazarus. The collected poems 1981, a comprehensive volume that won the Pulitzer Prize in 1982. Then T.S. Eliot's work defined modernism, belonged to the modern age modernist poet and the very important essayist also and the critic. Remember the all the term important by T.S. Eliot, objective correlative tradition and the individual talent, the work and the important writers, important concept that he has given. The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, 1950, very important work. It is a dramatic monologue capturing the internal paralysis and social anxieties of a modern man. The Wasteland, 1952, divided in 5 sections, a landmark of 20th century poetry. It is a collage of voices and culturalism depicting post-World War First. Okay, Murder in the Cathedral, that highlights the murder mystery of Thomas A. Becket. Thomas A. Becket of the Canterbury. Okay, 1935, it is a wars drama, remember? Verse drama. Martyrdom of Thomas A. Becket and the Four Quartets 1943 considered his mature masterpiece, a series of four meditations on time, history, and spiritual redemptions. Okay, so now everything is clear. Now let's see the next question, everyone. Now you have to match the novels with the techniques that all these novels have explored by the novelist. Ulysses, Mrs. Dalloway, Midnight's and 100 Years. Midnight's Children, there should be. Okay, sorry. Midnight's Children. So, magic realism, stream of consciousness, historiographic metafiction, and multiple perspective. Novels. So, there might be some error in the question. So, Ulysses, stream of consciousness, Mrs. Dalloway, William James, both have a James Joyce, both have used this technique. So, Ulysses, multiple perspective. Ulysses, Mrs. Dalloway, stream of consciousness, Midnight's Children, historiographic metafiction, and 100 Years of Solitude. It a multiple, sorry, where it is gone? Magic realism. Okay, magic realism. I should have mentioned the question properly. Okay, let's see the next question. Who said art for art's sake? Art for art's sake. Walter Pater, Oscar Wilde. Correct answer, everyone. Art for art's sake. Who said? Let me tell you, art for art's sake, it is often cited as the first to fully articulate. It is by option C. Option C, Gautier. Remember, understand this very carefully. The French critic Théophile Gautier coined the L'Art pour, that is art, in the preface to Mademoiselle's de Maupin 1835. And this term art for arts is also related to Walter Pater and Oscar Wilde. This became the foundation of aestheticism. So Pater and Wilde later popularized it but did not originate the phrase. Okay, so this is actually very important. They are also important, remember. Now let's see the next question. First Indian English novel. Rajmohan's Wife, Kanthapura, Untouchable, Malgudi Days. First Indian English novel. First Indian English novel. Correct answer. It's option A. Option 1, Rajmohan's Wife. It is by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. Okay. So Rajmohan's Wife, written by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. This is the first Indian novel ever published in English. Okay, 1864. Remember the year. It was first serialized in the magazine Indian Field and tells a domestic story set in 19th century rural Bengal. So setting is Bengal. Rajmohan's Wife by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, 1864. Untouchable, it is by Mulk Raj Anand, 1935. Kanthapura, 1938. Malgudi Days, 1943. It is authored by Mulk Raj Anand. This seminal work focuses on a single day in the life of Bakha, father Lakha, and a young sweeper to highlight the social injustice of the caste system in India. Kanthapura is also important, written by Raja Rao. This novel depicts the influence of Mahatma Gandhi's teaching on a remote South Indian village and is noted for its blending the traditional Indian storytelling with English narrative. Okay. Malgudi Days in 1943. This is a celebrated collection of the short stories R.K. Narayan set in the fictional town of Malgudi. Okay, this is the Narayan's first novel was Swami and Friends. First novel, Swami and Friends, published in 1935. So 1935, Untouchable by Mulk Raj Anand, and 1935, Swami and Friends, 1930, Raja Rao's Kanthapura. So in chronology, you can remember this. 1935. Oh, how am I? 1935, Mulkraj Anand. 35 again we have Swami and Friends. 36, 36 Coolie, which is also by Mulkraj Anand. Then 38 you can remember Raja Rao Kanthapura, Malgudi Days 43. Okay, and 1864 Rajwans 5. That would be the first. Let's see the next question, everybody. Remember, magic realism pioneer Borges, Marquez, Rushdie, and Allende. Magic realism. Its correct answer option 2, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Okay. George Francisco Isidoro Luis Borges. Oh, see the name, how lengthy. An Argentina author who served as a critical precursor to the movement, Gabriel Jose de la Concordia Garcia Marquez. This one even lengthier. The Colombian godfather of the genre, whose 1967 masterpiece 100 Years of Solitude turned magic realism into an international phenomenon, Sir Ahmad Salman Rushdie, 1947, an Indian-born British-American writer, novelist who is the leading practitioner of magic realism, and you can find this in The Midnight Children. Isabel Angelica Allen Leon, 1942, a Chilean writer and the first Latin American woman to gain global recognition in the genre, particularly for her 1982 novel, The House of the Spirits. Okay, let's see the next question. Waiting for Godot is correctly described as the last option B, a farce. The first option was farce. Option B, a farce. Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett, 1953, is correctly described as. So it is option C, a tragic comedy in two acts. Okay. Irish writers, I have mentioned everything about the Waiting for Godot, Vladimir Pozo, Lucky, and Estragon, and the Godot who never arrives. But this work is based on the meaninglessness that highlights human condition and existentialism theme that this work explores actually. Next question we have. This play was first performed 1953, remember. Which work of James Joyce is structured around Homer's Odysseus? Dubliners, a portrait of the artist as a young man, Ulysses, and Finnegan's Wake. Which work of James Joyce structured around Homer's Odysseus? James Joyce structured. Quick answer, everybody. Which work by James Joyce? It's option C, Ulysses. Option C, Ulysses is the correct answer. So Ulysses 1992, the work which is by James Joyce, parallels Homer's Ulysses with the 18 episodes. Remember how many? 18 episodes. All occurring 16 June 1904 in Dublin. Okay. This day is celebrated as a Bloom's Day. Next question. The playboy of the Western world caused riots because of, here, see the options. The Playboy of the Western World is the work by J.M. Singe, 1907, the publication. The work was published, and this is very important. The Playboy of the Western World caused riots because of political propaganda, sexual epiclitness, its portrayal of Irish rural life, or religious heresy. J.M. Singe. Correct answer. It's option C. It's portrayal of Irish rural life. Okay, it's portrayal of Irish rural life. So here, this work actually offended audience due to its anti-heroine portrayal of Irish peasants, challenging nationalist ideals, and the riots occurred at the Abbey Theatre. Remember, who is the founder of Abbey Theatre? Who is the founder of the Abbey Theatre? The leading founder, you can say, because there are two other writers also. Correct answer. Quickly comment your answer. Next question C. Who dismissed romantic poetry as low, creeping, and narrow? This question I have made you practice. Who dismissed romantic poetry as low, creeping, and narrow? Hmm. Who dismissed romantic poetry as low, creeping, and narrow, everyone? So it's option A, Francis Jaffrey. Okay, Francis Jaffrey. The phrase low, creeping, and narrow was used by Francis Jaffrey, the editor of the Edinburgh Review, to attack William Wordsworth's theory of poetry in lyrical ballad, 1798. Again, the condition here applies that the Romantic age writers were majorly focusing on the ordinary language, and they were more about the nature they were writing. Ordinary language, individuality. So this was the problem. One of the questions we have solved already. So Jaffrey opposed the Romantic focus on rustic life and common language, okay, favoring neoclassical decorum. Next question, Pygmalion critiques a social hierarchy primarily through. What are the fourth options? Religion. Pygmalion by G.B. Shaw. Correct answer. Critiques a social hierarchy primarily through which? Marriage, money, language, or religion? So it is option C, language. Okay. Option C, language. Remember, the Pygmalion is a very important book by G.B. Shaw. 1912, it was published. It demonstrates how accent and speech determine class identity. Remember the character Eliza Doolittle, who is a florist, and how this girl transformed. Okay, this is what it depicts. So that is why it is mentioned here, language. Language that depicts your way of talking, how you're representing the society. Next question, which is not a work of Jonathan Swift? Not a work by Jonathan Swift. Which is not a work by Jonathan Swift? Tale of a Tub. Many of the works we have done already about Jonathan Swift video. Tale of Tub, Gulliver's Travel, Modest Proposal. All of these works are written by Jonathan Swift. Deserted Village is not by Jonathan Swift, but it's Oliver Goldsmith. Okay, 1770. Oliver Goldsmith. Next question, who called Hardy a village hamlet? A village hamlet. Oh, Hamlet. I was reading it's helmet. So it's Hamlet actually. Hamlet by Shakespeare. Lawrence Wolfe Foster Leavice. Who called Hardy? Thomas Hardy, a village hamlet. Everyone, quickly, quickly, quickly. So it's option A. D.H. Lawrence called a village hamlet to Thomas Hardy. So in a study of Thomas Hardy, this is the work by D.H. Lawrence. Okay, in a study of the Thomas Hardy, 1914, D.H. Lawrence described Hardy as a village hamlet because of his why? Because of his tragic worldview and philosophical brooding. So Lawrence used this description to characterize the brooding, intellectual, and introspective nature of many of Hardy's Wessex. Wessex is also a fictional town, fictional place by created by here Thomas Hardy. The way Malgudi is created by R.K. Narayan. Okay. Characters who often find themselves at odds with their rural environment or societal expectations. So Thomas Hardy's study of Thomas Hardy 1914 by D.H. Lawrence, here he mentioned him as a village hamlet archetype. Okay, remember. Lawrence here saw Hardy's protagonist. Hardy's protagonist, he has such as Clem Yobright in The Return of the Native or Jude Foley in the Jude the Obscure as village hamlets. So majorly you can say he has describing by watching the observing the characters that has been mentioned in the work. Here, like Shakespeare's Prince of Denmark in the Hamlet, they are burdened by the self-consciousness and inability to reconcile their inner intellectual life. Remember the soliloquy term that Hamlet go through, and he was in dilemma that whether he should take revenge from his uncle Claudius or not, whatever he has done and killed his father by poisoning. So this was actually here, it is compared to Shakespeare, the Prince of Denmark in Hamlet. Virginia Woolf, E.M. Foster, they have praised, not demeaned. So Virginia Woolf praised Hardy's ability to create a world and described him as the greatest tragic writer among English novelists. Remember the line? Who addressed Thomas Hardy, the greatest tragic writer among English novelists? It is Virginia Woolf to Thomas Hardy. E.M. Foster critiqued Hardy's plots in aspects of the novel, famously suggesting that Hardy arranged events with the view to their being tragic. This line you can also remember. Next question we have This question here, who called Shelley a beautiful and ineffectual angel? Quickly comment your answer. This question we have done, everybody. Let's see the next. Now, who called Pope's poetry mechanical and lacking genuine? Repeated questions. Lacking genuine emotion. Eliot, Wordsworth, Johnson, Arnold. Pope's poetry mechanical and lacking genuine emotion. Now here, Alexander Pope from neoclassical age. He has been criticized too. So all the writers were majorly criticizing each other by using the theories, terms, concept in the work respectively. The way the people do, this is not good. What do you think of yourself? Like we can't go overboard, but like criticizing work as in a local language, how they will do. Who called Pope's poetry? So it is option D, Matthew Arnold. Okay, remember. Matthew Arnold called, addressed in his 1880 essay, The Study of Poetry. Remember, 1880 essay, The Study of Poetry. Arnold argued that Pope and Dryden were not classics of our poetry, but rather classics of our prose. Very important. He criticized their work for being products of the intellect rather than the soul, claiming it lacked the high seriousness and poetic largeness found in poets like Shakespeare or Milton. So also he has compared Shakespeare and Milton too, like they are comparing. They are not good. Let's see the next question, everyone. Who referred to the metaphysical poet as a heterogeneous mixture of wit? Dryden, Johnson, John Dennis, and Coleridge. I will mention the fourth option here. Option D, Coleridge. Metaphysical poet who referred as a heterogeneous mixture. So you can easily get the answer. Metaphysical poets. Correct answer? It's option B, Dr. Samuel Johnson. Okay, Samuel Johnson referred metaphysical poet as heterogeneous mixture of wit. In Lives of the Poet 1779, remember the year and the work, Johnson described metaphysical poetry as wit. So here Johnson defined metaphysical wit as a discordia conquers. Remember discordia conquers. Who? It's Johnson. In which work? Lives of the Poets. Where how many poets he has mentioned here? 52 poets. A combination of the dissimilar images or discovery of occult resembles in things apparently unlike. Heterogeneous. He famously wrote, the most heterogeneous ideas are yoked by violence together. So nature and art are ransacked for illustrations and comparisons and illusions. Okay. So remember the work and the one who coined. Who called Dr. Johnson a man of gigantic mind? I found two answers of this question, everyone. One was James Boswell, and the second one was Thomas Babington Macaulay. Then the Macaulay T35. So James Boswell, the two of the answers was very much explanation. So please clarify this. Okay, we can skip this question. It is mentioned here, man of gigantic mind, Dr. Johnson. It's James Boswell in his 1791 masterpiece. But there was two options. I thought we should skip. The life of Samuel Johnson Boswell used various grand metaphors to describe Johnson's intellectual power, while Johnson is famously known by the nickname. What is the nickname of Dr. Samuel Johnson? The Great Jam of Literature. That means a title given to him by Tobias Smollett. So Boswell's biography solidified the image of Johnson as a man of extraordinary mental stature. So the second one you can clarify to me, okay? Is mentioned here. Let's see the next question. Consider the following statement about Endgame. Endgame is also a very important play by Samuel Beckett, the Irish writer. It is a one-act play. There is no line. It has a hopeful ending. It represents extreme pessimism, which is the correct answer. It is about Endgame by Samuel Beckett. Statement you have to find which is correct. So Endgame option B is the correct. It is a one act play, and Waiting for Godot was two act tragic comedy. It is a one act play Endgame. Okay, and option three, it represents extreme pessimism. This is play is by Samuel Beckett and in 1957. Remember the year. That means there is no hope for the renewal. Next question we have: consider the following statements about a portrait of the artist as a young man. It's visible now. Portrait of the artist as a young man. It is a one, two, three, and four. It is a Roman, like Bildungsroman. It ends with the hero's artistic exile. It follows a linear Victorian narrative style, and here are the options. About a portrait of the artist as a young man. Correct answer, everyone. There are a lot of questions in the PDF. Since a minute after the second mock test, no, I was started preparing for this. I will take the proper class and one by one work. Actually, I'll have to prepare a list. So do prepare, subscribe the channel. Now I don't remind you, but any of you, if you like the session, please like, subscribe, and share. Which is the correct answer? Option A, 1 and 2. It is a Roman, okay, and B was it ends with the one hero's artistic exile. So this is the correct answer. James Joyce's novel 1916 is a modernist Roman using stream of consciousness rather than Victorian realism. So option A is the correct answer. Next, who first applied the term metaphysical poets? And this is also one of the repeated questions. Who first applied systematically in English criticism? You can see the questions variation. I hope many of the questions will be all the my students here. Who first applied the term? For the last moment, there are 2 3 year PYQs video is already uploaded. Everybody with the detailed explanation you can watch. I have shared the link in Telegram. Metaphysical quote system in English who first applied? It's option B, Samuel Johnson. Metaphysical is also related with T.S. Eliot also. Okay, metaphysical work is actually by T.S. Eliot, but this term was actually applied by Samuel Johnson to address the metaphysical poets of the age, like John Donne, Andrew Marvell, George Herbert were the metaphysical poets. Okay, so although Dryden is the term casually, Samuel Johnson systematically defined the criticized and metaphysical poets in Life of Cowley. Remember 1779, the lives of the poets. He condemned their far-fetched conceit and intellectualized emotions. So that's why he used this term, first applied this term. Let's see the next. Which of the following belong to the theater of the absurd? There are only three, no? One, two, and three, A, B, C. Which theater of the absurd you have to find out which work actually belong to? Waiting for Godot and give the importance of being earnest. Importance of being honest. There is a conjoin, twin, you can say. And they like trying to be establish their identity. This work actually explores the theme. Remember the work The Solid Mandala by Patrick White? Solid Mandala, no. Yes. The Australian writer. Many things we will remember. Theater of the absurd apply which of these works, everybody? So Waiting for Godot and Endgame. So option A and B is the correct answer. Okay. The importance of being honest, it is not. So the importance of being earnest actually, it is a comedy of manners. Okay. Brackets, Waiting for Godot 1953 first performed and attended Godot. The French title is by Samuel Beckett. Remember Endgame 1957. 1957. It is a importance of being a comedy of manners by Oscar Wilde. Okay. Remember. Let's see the next question. Next question we have: which works are examples of satire? Gulliver's Travels, Modest Proposal, Riders to the Sea. Example of satire work. Examples of satire, everybody. Examples of satire. So it's option C, A and B. A and B, Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift and Riders to the Sea. Riders to the Sea, it is a juvenile satire by Singer. Okay, Swift's work 1726 to 1729 classic juvenile satire, and since Rider to the Sea is a tragedy. It is not a. Okay, so this is the correct answer. Option C. Okay, if there is any mistake, extremely sorry. You can. I know many of correct in the comment section, and thank you so much for that. You have seen the answer. Let's see the next question, everybody. It's okay. Which critic rehabilitated the metaphysical poets in the 20th century? Richards, Lewis, Eliot, and Matthew Arnold. Now, remember, try to get the keyword metaphysical poets in 20th century. That means they're talking about the modern age, modern age. Yes, modern age. So I told you just while solving the questions, metaphysical poets. So critic rehabilitated the metaphysical poet. It is T.S. Eliot. 20th century, it is mentioned here now. So T.S. Eliot is the correct answer. The Metaphysical Poets, 1921, is a work by T.S. Eliot. Eliot challenged here Johnson's negative view and praised of the poets in the work The Lives of the Poets, The Life of Cowley, 1779. Just one of the previous question we have studied. And that is why he coined the idea of dissociation of a sensibility. Okay. Let's see the next question. Who defined poetry as emotion recollected in tranquility? This is also one of the most repeated PYQs. Emotion recollected in tranquility. Coleridge, Wordsworth, Shelley, and Keats. Stay tuned. Do not miss any single question, everybody. From all 10 units, we are revising the questions based on all pattern. And I hope this will be helpful for you. There are many questions based on literary criticism matching chronology. So who defined emotion recollected in tranquility? It is option B, William Wordsworth. Okay, option B, William Wordsworth. And it appeared in the preface to Lyrical Ballad 1800, revised 1802. Wordsworth argued poetry arises from intense emotion and later reflected upon the calmly. Next question we have, who said poets are the unacknowledged legislature of the world? Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, and Byron. We have solved this question in matching with the line and the writer. So it is stated by P.B. Shelley, okay? From a Defense of Poetry, 1821, written and published 1840. Let's match the question here. Work and author. Waiting for Godot, Ulysses, Pygmalion, and the Playboy of the Western World. James Joyce, Samuel Beckett, G.B. Shaw, and J.M. Synge. Waiting for Godot, we can match Samuel Beckett, 1953. First performed. Ulysses is by James Joyce, Stream of Consciousness Technique and Multiple Narratives. Pygmalion by G.B. Shaw. G.B. Shaw is very important. Pygmalion work is very important. Just we solve the question. Eliza Doolittle. The Playboy of the Western World by G.M. Synge. So first we can match with two, C and A. We can cut this. Ulysses, we have a James Joyce, B with first. B with the first. Option A is the correct answer. Okay, everybody, let's see the next question. Let's quickly finish. Who called Shakespeare the poet of nature? Dryden, Johnson, Coleridge, and Pope. Shakespeare as poet of nature. Shakespeare have been through a lot of criticism because of he's the reference of the other writers' work. An upstart crow who have never attended university education, like many of the quotations he had. In British literature, all the important quotations related to William Shakespeare now mentioned. That's why the PDF was in demand. And the one who, like, seriously, would try to cheat. Who called Shakespeare the poet of nature? It is option B, Samuel Johnson. Somehow he favored. So, in preface to Shakespeare 1765, the work actually here Johnson praised Shakespeare's realistic portrayal of human nature beyond classical rules. Okay, classical rules. Remember the TPA, time, place, and action, three unities. And here also he has a favored. Next question we have to arrange the following in chronological order. Gulliver's Travels, Importance of Being Honest, Waiting for Godot, Analysis. Chronological order of the publication, you have to arrange these works. Which work actually appear first? Gulliver's Travels, it is by Jonathan Swift. Importance of Being Earnest, Oscar Wilde. Waiting for Godot, Samuel Beckett. Ulysses by James Joyce. Okay. Gulliver's Travel, remember 1726. Importance of Being Earnest, 1895. Remember. Waiting for Godot, 1953. It was first performed by Samuel Beckett and Ulysses, 1922. So, as per this 1726 first, Jonathan, this one will appear. Then we have 1895, The Importance of Being Earnest, option 2. And Waiting for Godot, and the last one, 1920. Last one will be appeared, the third will be there, no? This option B is the correct answer, okay? 1953. Okay, everyone, let's see the next question. Oh, this is too lengthy. Let me see if the options is mentioned. No, there is no. Yeah, obviously it is here mentioned. No? So everybody now please read the statement by yourself. It's a request. Consider the following statement with reference to Aristotle's Poetics, what he has mentioned, how much you have studied, what are the theories, concept that he was talking. Please read and get the right answer. Options is also mentioned here. And let me take rest. Which is the soul of tragedy? Soul, according to Aristotle. What do you mean by hamartia, catharsis, anagnosis, peripeteia? I feel happy when students comment during when I ask. Did you get the right answer? So Aristotle defined tragedy as an imitation of an action that is a serious, complete, and of a certain magnitude. Okay, so this is correct. Let me 1 second. Option first. Second, according to Aristotle, the purpose of tragedy is to arouse pity and fear and effect the catharsis of such emotions. Correct, right? Aristotle considers spectacle, that is opsis, as the most important element of tragedy. This is wrong. That is plot. Okay. Aristotle privileges plot mythos over character ethos. So we can easily eliminate option 4 and 3 only. 4. 4 is there. 4 it will be the right. Aristotle will plot. Yes. Preference he has given to plot, and that plot is the soul of a work, soul of tragedy. So first option will be the correct. First, second, and the fourth. The third you can eliminate. Here it is mentioned on spectacle as the most important. No, this is wrong. And it is also correct. Tragedy to arouse pity and fear. That is what catharsis means. So this is also correct. And the imitation of an action. This is also correct. So option A will be the correct answer. Okay. In poetics, here, Aristotle defines tragedy and emphasizes catharsis. He clearly states that plot is the soul of tragedy, while spectacle is the least artistic element. Okay. Next question we have. You have seen the answer. Still, it's fine. Who attacked Shakespeare for violating the classical unities? These are the questions. Who attacked Shakespeare for violating the classical unities, everyone? You have practiced PYQs now. Many of the questions you can easily tackle. So it's option C, Thomas Rhymer. Okay, violating the classical unit. It's option C, Thomas Rhymer, a rigid neoclassical critic, belongs to the neoclassical age. Condemned Shakespeare in the tragedies of the last age, 1678, for ignoring Aristotle unities. Just I told you, TPA, time, place, and action. Next question, and this is also. Now you have to consider the following statements about new criticism. Which one is correct? Okay, new criticism. Okay, remember. Read the statement, everyone. And please subscribe if any of you have joined for the first time. Last minute, just practice well. You have today and tomorrow. New critics. Okay, so new critics advocate close reading of the text independent of authorial intention. Okay, the movement rejects historical, biographical, and sociological context. Okay, this one is also correct. Concepts such as intentional fallacy and affective fallacy are central to this school. This one is also new criticism emerged primarily in the France during the 1960s. No, this is a statement is correct. New criticism, New York, America, and 1960 is wrong. So option 1, 2, and 3 you can easily eliminate. It was emerged in 1920s to 1930s. So new criticism advocate close reading of the text, that if you want to find out the meaning, you have to avoid the biographical, historical, or any other authorial intention, authorial content from the work. You just have to take a close reading of the text to interpret the meaning. So this statement makes us new criticism true. This all rejects the historical background, concept, intentional fallacy, Wimsatt and Beardsley, affective fallacy are central. Yes, this is also option A. First, second, and three. Fourth, we can easily eliminate. Let's see the next question we have here. The important writers I.A. Richards, Clint Brooks, B.K. Wimsatt, okay, and it was developed in England and the USA 20s and 40s, not in France. Again, it is a statement based. Consider the following statement regarding the structuralism. I have completed all the class, everybody, in a very systematic manner from unit 1 to unit 2. Last one, research aptitude. I left, but all the theories, concept, the repeated PYQs, everything I have uploaded. Now read these statements. Structuralism. So structuralism is influenced by Ferdinand de Saussure's linguistic theories. Okay, it emphasizes diachronic study over synchronic analysis. This thing is also mentioned in the structuralism I have mentioned in the class. Meaning is generated through difference within a system of signs. And core option, structuralism seeks a stable and universal structures underlying the text. So option first, second, and third is meaning is generated through differences within the system of science. And differences, no, this we can eliminate. Then after we got the concept of difference by Jacques Derrida, na, so this is incorrect. So first, influence of ordinary resource. Second, diachronic theme. Structuralism is stable and universal, so this one is correct. And this one you will find in the post-structuralism, where Jacques Derrida give the concept deconstruction and differ the meaning. Okay, and here they are talking about the stable and universal. So this thing has been discarded in the post-structuralism. Remember, so first 3 and 4 only will be the correct answers. So option A. Okay, let's see the next question, everyone. Now it is about the post-structuralism. You will get the idea. The statement is about the post-structuralism. Please read the statements and find out the correct answer. Correct answer. Post-structuralism challenges the idea of fixed meaning. Just we said now that in structuralism they talked about the meaning is stable, universal, but post-structuralism rejects the idea and they said that no, meaning is not fixed. So this statement you can post a challenge, correct. Jacques Derrida introduced the concept of difference. This is also correct, right? Post-structuralism rejects language as a stable system. This one is also correct. And option 4, it seeks universal interpretive truth. So this one is incorrect. This universal interpretive we find in the structuralism. So here we are talking and reading about the statement of post-structuralism. So this statement we can easily eliminate. Now you got the point. Post-structuralism and structuralism both were opposite to each other. What they have said in the structuralism they were against. So this option B, first, second, and third will be the correct answer, and fourth will be you can easily eliminate. Let's see the next question. Post-structuralism 1960s onwards, here destabilizes the meaning. Derrida's difference from of grammatology 1967, he denies a final interpretation, that is the universal. Now let's see read the statement about feminist literary criticism. feminist literary criticism. Class is also available and the questions are also available for the feminist literary criticism. Please read the statement, everyone. You have to consider the following statement on feminist literary criticism. I told you there are a lot of questions following all the pattern. So stay tuned, do not miss, subscribe if you are new to the channel here, and please share also and like the session too. Like the session also, everyone. Correct answer? So feminist criticism examines the representation of women in literature. It is right. Okay. Ellen Sholter introduced the concept of gynocriticism. It is also correct. Ellen Sholter. Feminist criticism is uniform and monolithic in approach. Option 3. This is incorrect, not in monolithic approach. Judith Butler conceptualized gender as performativity. Sorry, gender as performativity. That means it is a societal norms that made a gender by repeating. So that is what gender performative by Judith Butler mentioned here. So option 1, 2, and 4 is the correct, and the third one is incorrect. Third one, not it was monolithic. Feminism is a plural endeavors, not monolithic. Butler's gender trouble 19 is central to third wave of feminism, feminine feminism and feminist. From 1840s onwards, you must know what word actually means. Now, who described tragedy as producing catharsis? Plato, Aristotle, Longinus, or Horace. Tragedy as producing catharsis, but catharsis that means pity and fear. Who described? So it's option B, Aristotle in his work Poetics. Okay. Let's see. Next question. You have to match literary concept and the critic. Read the statement. Sorry, read the writer's critic and the state concept and match. Options is also there. Cleanth Brooks, The Well-Wrought Urn, okay. Ellen Sholter, Gynocriticism, Affective Fallacy, Wimsatt, Roland Barthes, Death of the Author. So A we can match with 3, D and so we can cut this. Ellen Sholter, Gynocriticism, B with first. So in both the options we can find here. Then we C with the second. C with second in here and here. So here it is 3. So option A will be the correct answer, okay. Option A will be the correct answer. Books The Well-Wrought Urn. It is by Cleanth Brooks, 1947. Sholter, Literature of Their Own, 1977. Gynocriticism. Wimsatt, Affective and Intentional Fallacy. New criticism. This is the part of and death of the author. That means authorial intention doesn't matter at all after once the work is finished. So 1967. It is by Roland Barthes. Let's see the next question. It is also matching. Deconstruction, psychoanalytic criticism, new historicism, and discourse theory. Michel Foucault, Jacques Derrida, Sigmund Freud, and Stephen Greenblatt. If you really want to prepare well for June 2025, you can start watching the detailed class. It's not too old, but I just started preparing from June 2025. You can get all the classes if you're aiming for June 2026. Okay, everyone. For that, you have to subscribe the channel. Which is the correct answer? Deconstruction, Jacques Derrida. So A with the 1 second. Sorry, you must be thinking, what am I doing, right? A with the second. Psychoanalytic criticism, Sigmund Freud. B with the third. So A second, B third. We can find A second in the option C only. This trick I observed in my first attempt, let me tell you. And this is actually very helpful. You must try. But you have to be very sure about one or two the concept that you are actually matching. New historicism, Stephen Greenblatt, C with 4, and discourse theory, Michel Foucault. Okay, everybody, let's see the next question. Now, it is also a statement. Sorry for the size. I'm here decreasing, you can increase your resolution. Here, consider the following statements regarding Longinus on the sublime. Read the statement. I'm very much getting tired. It's already 1.5 hours. The remaining questions we can practice tomorrow, right? There are a lot more such questions you will find. You can see. Please comment how the session is actually. Which is the correct answer? So Longinus associates the sublime with the elevation of thought and emotional intensity rather than technical correctness alone. So this statement is correct actually. Yeah, I had told you in the detailed class. He defines five principal sources of the sublime, including grandeur of thought and novel diction. This statement is also true. Longinus views sublimity as entirely innate and dismisses the role of training and imitation. This is incorrect. Option 4. Option 4, you have the treatise emphasize the transformative impact of sublimity on the readers. Option 1, 2, and 4 will be the correct. 1, 2, option. Option E will be the correct. This is the incorrect option. Option 3, okay? Remember. Let's see the next question. Who coined the term objective correlative? Objective correlative. It is by T.S. Eliot in the work Hamlet and His Problems by in 1919 addressing him as artistic failure. Artistic failure. Which work? Hamlet by Shakespeare. So T.S. Eliot called him as objective. There is a lack of objective correlation to define or to describe the emotions to relate the audience. Okay. So there is a lack of object. Set of chain, set of object. In 1919, Hamlet and His Problems by T.S. Eliot. Next question we have, who stated the literature must be judged by moral seriousness? Who stated that literature must be judged by moral seriousness? Moral seriousness. Correct answer, moral seriousness. It is stated by option B, F.R. Lewis. Okay, F.R. Lewis. Here he emphasized that ethical depth and seriousness, especially in the work The Great Tradition 1948, which is the work by F.R. Lewis. So, moral seriousness there must be in literature, that it is actually must be judged on the basis of that. Now let's see the statement based question again. I hope you all have practiced reading the questions. Read the statement. Consider the following statements about Matthew Arnold's critical principles. Matthew Arnold. Classical text. Which is the correct statement, everyone? So here, Matthew Arnold's critical principles were, Arnold emphasized the function of criticism as the disinterest pursuit of truth. So disinterest we have seen, true. He introduced the idea of touchstone, this is also true, to judge poetic excellence. Option 3, Arnold argued that poetry would replace religion as the moral guide of society. Option 3, Arnold rejected the importance of classical literature in shaping modern criticism. So option C, 1, 2 and 3 will be the correct. And classical literature shaping modern criticism, this one incorrect statement. So Matthew Arnold's critical principle, remember, he emphasized the function of criticism as disinterest. This is the key word you can remember. Touchstone method is also by Matthew Arnold. This is also you can memorize. Here, the poetry would replace religion as the moral guide of society. This statement is also true. And classical literature shaping modern criticism, this statement was incorrect. In a study of poetry 1880, he mentioned this. 1880, okay? Remember. Let's see the next question. Next question we have, who coined the term practical criticism? Practical criticism. Brooks, Richards, Emerson, and Lewis. Practical criticism. Practical criticism 1929. It is by option B, I.A. Richard. Okay. Let's see the next question. Where he introduced the ins- practical and principles of literary criticism. Remember everybody. And he also talked about the six safety. I made you remember na in the classes. What do you mean by this? Sense, feeling, tone, and intention of the author. Consider the following statement about I.A. Richards. Read the statement. I.A. Richard, new criticism part, very important figure of new criticism. Richard emphasized reader response in determining meaning. Yes, it is absolutely correct that reader is the one who interprets the meaning by avoiding any other external background. He introduced the method of practical criticism using anonymous poems. Yes, it is absolutely correct. He gave the anonymous works, poems to the student and give them 1 week to find out and interpret the meaning and submit the result. Richards rejected psychology as irrelevant to literary interpretation. Rejected as psychology, this one is incorrect. His works his works laid foundations for both new criticism and reader response theory. So this system option 1, 2, and 4 will be the correct, and option A 1, 2, and 4. Okay, so option 3 is the incorrect. Remember everything. Let's see the next question. Here he rejected psychology. No, he combined psychology. His scientific knowledge he was actually focusing and giving the emphasis on. So scientific and combining psychology is the correct. So rejecting is the incorrect statement. Okay, let's see the next question. Now it is a statement about Marxist literary criticism, everybody. Marxist literary criticism, read the statement. It's already 1.5 past. But you please stick to the screen and do watch all the questions. Practice each type of pattern of the questions for your own self, okay? You can take a break between. So Marxist literary criticism, remember Karl Marx. This is actually originated from him, Marxist and many of the writers. Marxist criticism examines literature as a product of material and economic conditions. Yes. George Lucas emphasized realism as the highest literary form. Option 2, correct. Marxist critics uniformly reject modernism as bourgeois decadence. Option 3, incorrect. Raymond Williams expanded Marxism to include culture as a whole way of life. So this is also correct. Option 1, option 2, and option 4. 3 we have eliminated. So option 1, 2, and 4 we can find in the option 2 only. Remember Karl Marx, Frederick Engels, their concept, proletariat, bourgeois, and who are the Marxist literary theorist writers. Okay, let's see the next question now. Next question we have, it is, they are the statements about psychoanalytic criticism. Psychoanalytic criticism. This video is going to be extremely helpful for your last moment revision. One short revision, I'm telling you. Psychoanalytic criticism. Read the statement. Correct answer, everyone. Correct answer. Freud interpreted literature as an expression of repressed desire. So option one is true. Repressed expression. 1 second. The concept of the unconscious is central to psychoanalytic literary theory. This is also true. Carl Jung replaced personal unconscious with the idea of collective unconscious. This is also true. Carl Jung is also part of psychoanalytic criticism literary theory. Psychoanalytic criticism is concerned only with authors, not text or readers. This statement is absolutely incorrect. So this is how option 1, 1, 2, and 3 will be the correct option A. Okay. Root interpret literature. So option 1A will be the correct answer. Psychoanalytic criticism focus on authors, text, characters, and readers, making statement 4 incorrect. So you can easily eliminate and remember what are the actually part of the psychoanalytic theory. Next question: Who proposed the theory of dialogism? Who proposed the theory of dialogism? It is by option B, Mikhail Bakhtin. Remember heteroglossia, problem of Dostoevsky, heteroglossia. Then we have carnivalesque, dialogism, and a few more concepts are given by chronotope. Okay, dialogism, heteroglossia, chronotope, carnivalesque are the terms and appear in the exam so frequently. So you can Russian philosopher Mikhail Bakhtin. In Problem of Dostoevsky's Poetics, 1929, Bakhtin argued novels are multi-voiced and dialogic. In my Emina, I have prepared notes on I. Richards, Karl Marx, and Mikhail Bakhtin and Virgin, like feminist writer, feminist literary theories, like in very much in detail. So if I will tell you a secret now, you won't believe. Let's see the next question, everyone. We will discuss about that later, but now we have to tackle the exam. The options. Okay. You have to match Matthew Arnold, I. Richards, Eamon Williams, Northrop Frye, Practical Criticism, Culture and Anarchy, Culture and Society, Anatomy of Criticism. After this, do we will do the remaining questions later. Okay, like I'm thinking in after 8, 11 o'clock, I will upload the other one. 2 days we have left. We have to study day and night. Practice only, not study. We have to revise. To concentrate on the revision only. Okay, do not touch any new topic. We can match here. Matthew Arnold. We can match A. Culture and Anarchy. I. A. Richard. Practical Criticism. Raymond Williams, Culture and Society, and Northrop Frye, Anatomy of Criticism. Okay. So A with the second, we can find in the option A and C. Then B with first, we can find in the option C only. So option C will be the correct answer. Okay. Matthew Arnold, Culture and Anarchy, 1869. Remember, published in it is a fundamental Victorian critical text where he defines culture as the best that has been thought and said and critiques industrial society, Philistinism, and moral anarchy. I. Richards in Practical Criticism, 1929, laid the foundation of modern literary criticism by emphasizing close reading of the text and psychological response of readers to literary text, influencing the rise of new criticism. Okay, he is a very important figure of new criticism. Raymond Williams, Culture and Society, 1958. Is a key Marxist cultural text that traces the historical development of the concept of culture and marks the beginning of cultural materialism in British criticism. Northrop Frye, we have Anatomy of Criticism, 1957. He systemizes literary criticism through the archetypal patterns, that is, myth, genres, making it one of the most influential works of 20th century criticism. Remember the work Matthew Arnold, 1869, 1920, Practical Criticism, 1958, Culture and Society, Anatomy of Criticism, 1957. Now let's match again theories with the key terms. Again, I have to reduce the size, decrease the size. Structuralism, deconstruction, new criticism, and feminist criticism. Structuralism, binary opposition, deconstruction, difference, new criticism. well wrought on, and feminist criticism, gynocriticism. Okay, so A we can match with second. A with second you can find in the option A only. So A is the correct answer. Okay, deconstruction, B with the first. So option A will be the correct answer. Structuralism, binary oppositions. Remember, male, female. In the class, we have discussed structuralism is strongly associated with Ferdinand de Saussure course in General Linguistics 1916. Later, Claude Levi-Strauss analyzes meaning through binary oppositions, that is signifier and signified, nature and culture. And it also they said that language and literature operate through structure differences. So here they talk about the stable, meaning is stable, and in deconstruction post-structuralism, here Jacques Derrida denied it. Jacques Derrida introduced the concept of difference in of grammatology 1967, and he suggests that meaning is always deferred and produced through the difference. Okay, undermining fixes meanings assumed by structuralism. In new criticism, well wrought on by Clint Brooks, well wrote on 1947 encapsulates nuclearism focus on organic unity, remember, irony and paradox. In this work, well wrote on, you will find this concept and close reading. Rejecting the authorial intention and historical context. Feminist criticism, gynocriticism by Ellen Sholter, 1977, advocating a women-centered framework to study women's writing, experience, themes, and literary traditions. That women's work should be judged by a female critic only, not by the male perspective, because the perception is different. This is what she talked about. Now let's arrange the following critical works in chronological order. The Mirror and the Lamp, M.H. Abraham, Practical Criticism, I. Richard, Anatomy of Criticism, Northrop Frye, Culture and Anarchy, Matthew Arnold. We have to. Oh, I told you to. We will finish the remaining questions later. Okay, no problem. Let's finish this one. Mirror and the Lamp. You have to arrange in chronology. Mirror and the Lamp. So, Mirror and the Lamp, Practical Criticism, 1929. I can write it small. Practical Criticism, 1929. Okay, Culture and Anarchy. Culture and Anarchy, 1869. Anatomy of Criticism. Anatomy of Criticism, 1957. You are able to see now? A Mirror and the Lamp, 1953. So as per this year, you can arrange them. The first one will appear four options B and C. Then second, 1929 practical criticism. So second we have in the option B only. Okay. So option B is the correct answer. Then first, The Mirror and the Lamp, 1953. And then we have the last three, that is 1957 Anatomy of Criticism by Northrop Frye. These are the critical literary critics works. Let's see the next question. If we have, let's see the answer. Who introduced defamiliarization, that is Austrian? Jacobson, Shlotsky, Top, or Saussure? Russian formalism, this defamiliarization concept actually belongs to, it is by option B, Victor Shlotsky, okay? And this concept he has given in Art as Technique, 1917, which is the foundation to Russian formalism. Now, there are also works that you have to arrange. These are the literary theories you have to arrange with by their emergence. Feminist, new, structured, and deconstruction. If you will study the ages of English literature now, you will get always like you will be so close to the answer. And if you will practice, you will now no longer able to delay finding the correct answer. Feminist literary criticism. Correct answer is option A, 2, 3, 4, and first. Okay. New criticism, 1930s to 40s. Books, Richards. Structuralism, 1950s, 60s. Saussure and Levi Strauss. Deconstruction, late 1960s. Derrida is the important figure. Feminist criticism, 1960s onwards. Salter, Beauvoir, Virginia Woolf, etc. You can remember. Again, there is a question. Shall we end the class, everybody? There are a lot more helpful questions for you here in the PDF. So many questions. Okay, let's see. Remaining questions I will upload to, tomorrow. Okay. Till then, do practice well and let me know how the questions are. Then we can continue with the remaining questions. I want to check if you will. Let's see the next question. Read the statement. You have to match the statement with the theory. Meaning is produced through difference and differed endlessly. Text must be treated as an autonomous verbal object. Literature reflects material conditions of society and focus. Option D focuses on women's literary traditions and experience. It's okay. Just stay here and solve the questions. Meaning is produced. Which is the correct answer? Here is the options mentioned. So meaning is produced through difference and differed. It was deconstruction. Option 2, A with the second we can match. Text must be treated as an autonomous. So B with new criticism. A2 and B first. We can find in the option A only. Okay. So A is the correct answer. Difference by Derrida of Grammatology 1967. He talked about meaning should be differed. Autonomous text, new criticism. It is a part of material conditional Marxism. Eagleton 1976 and women-centered criticism shelter a literature of their own. So these are the terms you must remember. Okay, let's see the next question. Who called the novel a loose, baggy monster? A loose, baggy monster. Who called the novel? Like how the writers are criticizing each other's work. They're not respecting, but they are like when movie releases, only few of the writers give 3 star, or the remaining most of the writers, critics, movie critics, like it's bad. 1 star, 1.5 star. Don't watch. It's a waste of time. Money waste. This is what happened actually, right? So who called the novel a loose, baggy monster? It's option A, Henry James. Henry James used this phrase in his critical writings referring to Tolstoy. So whose writer is referred here? Who Tolstoy, Leo Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, complaining about their sprawling structures. This appears in his essay The Tragic Muse 1890. Remember everybody? Henry James, loose, baggy monster novel is according to Henry James, and Tolstoy and Dostoevsky is the target. Next question we have, who described tragedy as an imitation of an action that is serious, complete, and of certain magnitude? Tragedy. So it's option B, Aristotle. Okay, in poetics, he has mentioned this. Aristotle, who wrote that literature is a mirror held up to nature. Who wrote the literature is a mirror held up to nature? Again, it's option B. Aristotle is the correct answer. In poetics, poetics we must have to read in detail. Next time for the June 2025, I will bring this in detail. In poetics, Aristotle defined literature, especially tragedy, as mimesis or imitation of human action, and also this idea later inspired by Sidney, Dryden, and classical criticism. Though the exact English phrase is later concept originates from the Aristotle. Okay, so it was first said by a mirror held up to nature by Aristotle in the work Poetic, and similarly the imitation, catharsis, amartia, all these things you will find in this single work. Very popular writer, critics, from the ancient, who said poetry is the criticism of life. Poetry is the criticism of life. So it's option B, Matthew Arnold. Okay, Matthew Arnold coined this idea in the study of poetry 1880. Many of the key concept he has given in this single work only, the study of the poetry. He argued that poetry should guide life morally, intellectually, and spiritually, replacing religion in the modern era. And this thought became the foundational in the literary criticism. So these are the questions you are here solving now. Is the part of literary criticism, literary theories, everybody. So do concentrate. Who called Spencer the poet's poet? The poet's poet. Spencer, Edmund Spencer, the writer of the Fairy Queen, Proclamian, Epithalamion, Amirati, Charles Lamb. Option A, Charles Lamb is the one. Who addressed Spencer as poets? The English essayist Charles Lamb famously addressed Edmund Spencer, the poet's poet here. Okay, it was remember this poet's poet. It was later popularized by and attributed to Leigh Hunt in his 1844 book Imagination and Fancy. Next question we have who called the metaphysical poets a race of men that spoke discordantly? Like metaphysical poets are very popular. Herbert Marvell, Donne, Metaphysical 1921. Metaphysical Poetry is a work by T.S. Eliot. Metaphysical first applied to Dr. Samuel Johnson. Remember, metaphysical poets are a race of men that spoke discordantly. It is said by option A, Dr. Samuel Johnson. And where he has said this? In his Life of Cowley, 1779, which is the part of his life of the most eminent English poets. How many poets? 52. Johnson coined the term metaphysical poets to describe 17th century writers like John Donne, Abraham Cowley. Okay, he criticized their work as its roughness and creating a discordia conquers, a term used to describe the combination of dissimilar images. So, combination of dissimilar images question we have seen already. Okay, or heterogeneous idea is also question you have solved, yoked by violence together. So, remember it is the term related with Dr. Samuel Johnson in the work Lives of the most eminent English poets, 52 poets, 1779, and these are the important concepts he has given us. Let's see the next question. Who called Wordsworth a stupid, pious egotist? Anybody is saying anything. They're fighting with each other. Wordsworth is stupid, pious egotist. Who said this, everyone? It's like, who called Wordsworth a stupid idiot? Subscribe the channel, everybody, and share also. If you are preparing for June 2026 targeting, you are appearing for the first time. Stupid Pious Egotist. It is option C, Lord Byron. Lord Byron, like all the writers. Let me tell you how and why. So, the stupid pious egotist was used by Lord Byron in letter 1820 to criticize William Wordsworth's later poetry. Everyone is like criticizing each other's work, not respecting. Byron's insult words include insulting nickname. Byron frequently referred to him as a Wordsworth. Remember, who address it's related to Wordsworth. The nickname he has given to Wordsworth, it's Wordsworth. In private correspondence and letters to his publisher. In Don Juan, while criticizing in the dedication to Don Juan, Byron attacked the lake poets. Who are the members of lake poets? Do quickly comment, everybody. I'll be more than happy to see the answer. Calling Wordsworth unintelligible and mocking the egotism of his work. Basically, he was not liking what the Wordsworth was writing, right? And pious egotist, the specific phrasing pious egotist, that is sometimes a stupid pious egotist stem from Byron's disdain for Wordsworth's later work, which he felt was bogged down by moralizing and a lack of creative fire. Okay, everyone. An egotistical sublime to describe Wordsworth's poetry, it is also said famously by John Keats. Writing insult Byron. Let's see the next question, everyone. Remember all the important things mentioned here. Now, who described Shakespeare's plays as immense heap of jewels? See, another one, unstrung and unpolished. These are the parts of literary criticism questions. Do not miss. So, let's finish the literary criticism part. Okay, remaining we will do the later. Who described Shakespeare? Shakespeare has been attacked by many of the writers, and I think he is the one who has been attacked a lot, like more than anyone. In my MA, I became fan of Shakespeare while reading his dramas and reading about him, his geniusness. So, an immense heap of jewels. Who described him? It's option A, John Dryden. John Dryden from Restoration Age. It was Dryden who famously remarked that Shakespeare's plays were like a heap of jewels. One second, please don't go anywhere. A heap of jewels, unstrung and unpolished, acknowledging Shakespeare's raw unimaginative power but criticizing the structural looseness typical of Elizabethan drama. Dryden made this observation in the essay of Dramatic Poesy 1668, okay, where he compared Shakespeare with Johnson and Beaumont and Fletcher. Gynocriticism proposed. These are also one of the statement related to feminist criticism. Everybody solve this. Read the statement here and get the correct answer. Exercise. Consider the following statement about feminist criticism. Okay. Time is, oh my god, 2 hours already passed. I hope you do not miss a single question, everyone. Okay. So about feminist criticism, you have to find out the correct statement. It challenges the patriarchal representation in literature of a woman. So it one is correct, right? Gynocriticism proposed by Ellen Salter in 1977, Literature of an On. It emerged mainly in the 1960 and 70. This one is also correct. So, and it completely rejects male author text. Completely here is wrong. They are not rejecting the male perspective. Completely no. So this one is totally, you can think of yourself. 1, 2, and 3 is the correct. 4, 1 is incorrect. So 4 is mentioned here, here, here. Option D will be the correct answer. Okay, everyone. Let's see the next question. What is this? This question is too long. Options statement Matthew Arnold. Which 20th century poet and critic famously offered a backhanded compliment to Alfred Lord Tennyson by calling him the stupidest of the great English poets while simultaneously praising his technical mastery? Oh, again, it's criticism. Which 20th century poet and critic famously offered a backhanded compliment to Alfred Lord Tennyson? And what did he call the stupidest of the great English poets? Wow. Option D was Matthew Arnold, everyone. Okay. Option D. So it's option B, W.H. Auden. Auden is the correct answer. In his introduction to a selection of Tennyson's poems, 1946, Auden here wrote that Tennyson was undoubtedly the stupidest of the English poets, adding that there was little about melancholia that he didn't know, and there was little else that he did. However, Auden also acknowledged Tennyson's unparalleled technical skill, famously stating that he had the finest ear, perhaps, of any English poets. Like here, he is criticizing badly, calling him stupidest, and here he is calling, addressing him as the finest ear of any English poets, like telling him as the worst and the best altogether. So it is the binary opposition, everybody. Same. Matthew Arnold praised Tennyson's luminous and firm. Remember this? Luminous and firm, other writers mentioned in the option style, but occasionally felt it lacked the intellectual power. Who thought like this? It's Matthew Arnold. For whom? It's Lord Alfred Tennyson. Auden famously called Tennyson the stupidest. Okay, so this thing we have done. Next question we have: who declared the medium is the message? The medium is the message. Who declared this? The medium is the message. So it's option B, Marshall McLuhan. Remember hot and cool media in paper one. This is the very important topic. So in March, he coined in his influential 1964 book, Understanding Media, the extension of man. McLuhan defined how form, not content, shapes perception. So the medium is the message, according to him, is the one. Next, who criticized Victorian morality was Hebraism was versus Hellenism. Hebraism versus Hellenism. These are the very important part of English literary criticism. Everybody knows the class. Share to all the students. We are also preparing. Let all the students join. Which criticize? So it's option A, Matthew Arnold. Okay, who criticized Victorian morality? This is Matthew Arnold who criticized Victorian morality, mentioning as Hebraism and Hellenism. So Matthew Arnold is the critic who famously analyzed Victorian morality through the lens. It is a theory, the lens Hebraism versus Hellenism. He introduced and explored this dichotomy in his seminal 1869 work. 1869 work, Social Criticism, Culture and Anarchy. Remember, in which work, Culture and Anarchy, 1869. So, Hebraism is Arnold defined this as a focus on a strictness of consciousness, that is conduct and obedience. Okay, so he saw it as a dominant prize in Victorian England, particularly among the middle class and Philistines. So, this was the Hebraism theory lens, and Hellenism. This represented spontaneity of consciousness. Strictness of consciousness is a Hebraism, and spontaneity of consciousness is a Hellenism. You will find in the work 1869 by Culture and Anarchy, in Culture and Anarchy by Matthew Arnold. So, spontaneity of consciousness, intellectual curiosity, and the pursuit of beauty, Arnold here characterized its primary goal as seeing things as they really are. Okay, so here Arnold argued that while both forces are essential for human perfection, Victorian society was out of balance and needed more Hellenic influence, what he called a sweetness of light. So remember the term here. The definition is also mentioned: Hebraism and Hellenism in the work 1869 Culture and Anarchy by Matthew Arnold. Okay, and Victorian morality, he like said that they were out of balance. Next question: who said criticism is the science of discrimination? The fourth option, T.S. Eliot. Science of discrimination. Option D, Eliot. Criticism is the science of discrimination. Scientific knowledge, psychology, science, criticism. So it was related with option C, I.A. Richards. Okay. I.A. Richards said this in the Principle of Literary Criticism 1924. Principles of Literary Criticism and the Practical Criticism 1929. Principles of Literary Criticism 1924 define criticism as the science of discrimination, selecting, judging, and interpreting the meaning of the text. Okay. Here are the few exam pointers I have also added about the Shakespeare. Like he has been addressed as an upstart crow, beautified with her feathers, by Robert Greene. Okay, everybody, by the PDF, small Latin and less Greek. Who said this? It is Ben Jonson, 1623 first folio. Remember all the first folio, remember all the folios. 1623, I have reminded you, memorize the chronology. 23, it was 32, then it was 64 and 82 something. The last one you can check. The fourth folio we have, the first one, how many works were published, and his work are actually his life phase, the career. Professional career is divided into four phases. Next question we have, who called literature the expression of society? This is also part of the literary criticism. One second, let me tell you this. If I have mentioned here, this was just for you. So, Sweet Swan of Avon, also coined by Ben Jonson in the same 1623 eulogy. Okay, and also Ben Jonson addressed Shakespeare as a soul of the age and a star of the poets. Sweet Swan of the Avon. It is by Ben Jonson. Sweetest Shakespeare, fanciest child. Somebody is there also like saying good thing about Shakespeare, not only bad. So this appreciates line was written by John Milton in his 1645 poem El Allegro and El Penseroso. Remember the works. Mellifluous and honey-tongued, the critic Francis Mears used these descriptors to his 1590 work Alidis Tamia to praise Shakespeare's sonnets and narrative. How many shorts Shakespeare has written? Quickly comment. And small Latin and Greek, just I told you. Famous place belongs to Ben Jonson also. In his eulogy, the first folio 1623. Okay. And Upstart Crow, it is by Robert Greene. 1592. Green's Groat's Worth of Wit. This is the pamphlet. So, shall we see that question? Who called the literature the expression of society? It's option A, Hippolyta Taine. Hippolyta Taine. It is you will find in the work in History of English Literature 1863 to 69. Taine here proposed the race milieu moment theory, arguing that literature expresses society's forces. Okay, race milieu moment theory. Remember, Hippolyta Taine, History of English Literature 1863 to 69. Now here I would like to stop here because it is already 2 hours. I don't know how many of you will watch. If you will see that the questions are too lengthy and too many, the class is getting lengthier. There are a lot more helpful questions in this PDF. Okay, everybody, let's end the class. The remaining questions from here we will see. You can please, who said this is the question? Who said language is a system of differences without positive terms? You can, this is the your homework question. Do quickly comment in the next class. So thank you so much for watching. Do please revise, do not miss any single question. You will have a lot of important questions practice here in this single PDF. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Do take care of yourself. Do revise, and it's already chilly. So you have to be very careful about that also. Take care of yourself and bye bye everyone.